I hope that sounded accurate. Good mimicking. Hey guys, what's up? Few Designs back here again with another one. And in the previous session, if y'all remember, we were doing the blocking out of the foot. I doubt you forgot. I assume you're watching this video right after the other one, so it's kind of like a stupid remark to have. I hope y'all found it funny. I've been doing it the whole time. Anyway, look, in this session we're gonna get into the detailing. I believe we did the bullioning in the previous one, so we can just pick up where we left off. Without any further ado, let's jump in. And we're still working with torso 2 as our primary source. As you can see, when I swivel, it's going far off. That's because we are not perioded to the object and we're not swiveling around it. There's actually settings for that within your preferences if you want to check for that. Alrighty, just fixing up the positioning there with the G brush. Sorry about not having our screen cause keys active. There we go. Okay guys, so here we're just working with our grab brush and trying to position our calcaneal together. Going into our masking brush, just masking out that under part of the plantar of the foot, you know, where we got that normal dip. So that's what this part is for. And so we're just kind of aligning our mask, making sure it's a little bit feathered over on the edges, and then just getting our grab brush, getting it to even out and level out with our toes, because you know the ground is, your surface should generally be flat most of the time. That's, you know, sculpting with the assumption of, and then just inverting the mask a little bit here just to get a little bit of push and pull here, a little bit of a tug, a little bit of a nip tuck. This is sculpting surgery 101. We're rocking this baby. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And look at that, look at those grabbing skills. It's incredible. I should be a blender thief the way I'm so good at it. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, okay, just getting a little bit more of the pull on the calcaneal and then getting into our remeshing. If you remember this, like here, we're just doing a quick walkthrough guys. Unlike the rest, you've already learned the basics. We're just finishing up our project and finishing strong. Just a shift R, getting our topology to the level we want, and coming in with a slapped on multi-res and adding in a little bit more volume and detailing based on our reference. Remember, I keep telling y'all, don't forget, always work with reference. No matter what, no matter how good you may think you are, it's sometimes good to kind of test your memory, kind of like if you're studying for a test, studying for an exam. But every time you work, this is not like in school guys, it's not cheating to actually have references with you. It's not cheating to have things that can aid you and help you. In the real world, we work as a team. There's no singular individual working and sitting in a corner being scared to copy notes. Ask people, ask for advice, ask for help with things you don't understand. In the real world, that stuff is useful. Not crapping on schools in any way. That stuff, it's good to be able to learn and like be able to stand on your own. Something you learn, but keep that in mind. And anyway, yeah, we're just coming back to the bottom of the foot, adding some of that detailing. By the way, I don't know if you guys will notice this, if you have sculpted enough and you have followed through with this, whenever you're working with the clay strips, it has a tendency to pull off, to drag in, if I can put it that way, some normals from the opposite end, as if they kind of inverted. So I guess if you're to go in like into normal viewport, it would show red, but not necessarily. I think it's just a little bit of a blender issue there. So just keep that in mind while you're working, and always just, you know, think about stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, we're just fixing up that little bit of the plantar there. Just realizing that it's not, you know, it can't be lifted that high when you're standing upright. Gravity tends to have to push muscles downwards. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but it's a thing that gravity does. It's kind of got skills of its own. And they're just scaling up, getting our foot to be right. And by the way, that's a proportional a tool for working with proportions. I will do a tutorial on those. You should be able to see them coming up very soon. With that done, going back to our toes and just adding in a little bit of the remesh there. Shift R, getting it to the right level. You need to take it a little bit higher there. If you notice, you get some artifacts with objects that are so close to each other, so bear that in mind. Then G brushing up in here, fixing up the big toe, the first toe. I don't think I'll be teaching you much of terminology in this one. but I'll try add in a little bit here and there so we can keep this as educational as possible. I did call it a training course and not just a simple sculpting tutorial. Okay, so here working just on the digital phalanx of the big one, the first one, the big toe. The phalanx is the farthest end of your toes, that's what it's called, just so y'all know. And then you have that's the distal phalanx is the tip, proximal phalanx being the middle section that we're kind of positioning right now. What? And we're doing a little bit of science, y'all. Biology / sculpting class. I mean, flip, y'all are getting so much for free here. This is good content. I should be charging for this, but feel free to buy me a coffee. Jump into the buy me a coffee page, guys, if you want to support the group, support the community, and help me keep producing this content. I would greatly appreciate it, and thank you very much. Katejika nai, arigato gozaimashita. And that's about all the ones I know. Domo. And that's about all the dweebin I can do right now. Dweeb. The weebin I can do right now. Alright, so there we're just masking off, getting in our nail art. Just use the clay strips there, by the way. And then I'm just changing the fall off to smooth fall off, so it won't drag too much of the back of it. You can otherwise mask both ends as well. It actually makes life easier. Pay close attention to that method. Otherwise, you can also slap on another piece of mesh to create the nails. It's not necessary to do it this way. Just showing you this. And the cool thing is, when you're using the clay strips, as you can see, you're getting a little bit of that formation of those little, then you've got these streaks on your nails. I mean, your feet go through quite a lot, and your hands, you'll see it on your fingers as well. There are these divided flattened sections that come with it, so it's something to pay close attention to. And they're just using the inflate brush to reduce some of the volume around the proximal phalanxes of the ring of of the second phalanx. And yeah, just adding in a little bit of that volume there to the knuckle end of it. It sticks out quite a little bit, and just using the grab brush there to pull that, as you can see, giving me a bit of trouble with it too. By the way, there are methods around this. You can separate selections, you can mask it out, I believe with Control B. Yeah, Control B will be able to mask out an individual toe. It's a rectangular masking, so you need to be careful with that. And then I just figured here, well, screw it, let's just apply the actual mask on that end, and then be able to sculpt this freely and play with it freely without having to struggle too much. Yeah, just adding in a little bit of a detailing there with the draw brush. Press X on your keyboard, by the way. You can always slow this down and just check out the screencast and pause. It's not really that much effort. All of us are used to it by now. Anybody who's studying from YouTube, who's a self-taught individual, well, technically self-taught, we're all familiar with this process. Just the way it goes, just the way it goes. So I did this as a speed up, unlike the other ones, because this one really took a long time, guys. To do this kind of detailing, it's not as quick as you'd think, but as well, it's not as slow as it takes when I'm doing it. I like to enjoy my process. I like to, I'll sit and loll around and rotate the mesh, just check how things are going, how does it look in general. Yeah, if you're not busy doing that, then you'll be fine. And over there, we just, for the proportional editing, we just changing the settings that it will only move vertices that are connected. So in this case, it won't affect the other toes while I'm adjusting each individual toe. And that's what that edit mode there was all about. And just going into a little bit of an X-ray mode to be able to select all the way through if you need to, and just positioning them, getting them right. And that's why we can sculpt them spaced. You can sculpt them separately, and as well, there is a cheat, just like I told you with the phalanges of the hands, because these are still phalanges of the foot. I'm sure you guys can actually figure that out for yourself. You can just create one toe and duplicate it over the whole place and then modify that. It will go by a whole lot faster, I promise you. Problem with that is you're not getting much of sculpting practice anyway. Why not just do it the full rounded way if you don't have an urgent project you're working on. If it's not a school project, or for you guys that have clients out there, if you're not pressed for time, I suggest you go through it the hard way. It will make you that much better an artist and designer and sculptor at the end of the day. It's just it's the smartest way to go about it. the cheat way isn't always the fast way, because once you know this and you've gotten used to sculpting, your whole process of working becomes a cheat process, if you know what I mean. This is advice I also got as well from sculpting, so take that and make good use of it. And there we are, adding our clay strips, my homies, my people, and we're just sculpting down there, smoothing down a little bit of that volume, creating the lateral malleolus, basically just meaning the outer malleolus. Lateral, I think I explained this to you guys already earlier, but just so you keep that in mind, lateral is always any part of the body that's towards the outside, anything furthest from your center line, and anything inward from your center line is medialis. Medial, lateral. Medial, center, think of it medial, mid section, and then lateral, later, the outer end, whichever way helps you remember it best, and use that. The way I just explained it to you is how I remember it best. That's kind of how I thought about it. Yeah, and here we're just adding in a little bit more structure there into our foot, adding in some slight, bumps and creases and edges. This is where certain parts of your bone structure stick out. That part is close to the navicular, so you're gonna have landmarks. You've got tendons in your foot. You don't need to sculpt everything. Yeah, and here we just went into X-ray mode just so we can kind of see through and know exactly where to position the medial malleolus, the inner little ankle bone thing. So the reason why we went into X-ray is that it has to be slightly higher than the outer one. So you want to sculpt it being able to see through your sculpt and know exactly where you're positioning it, so you can maintain a realistic feel to it and keep the illusion of your artwork. If you can see right there and you pose it in the front view, the foot kind of looks darn near perfect, and it's because of that positioning. Things like that make the biggest difference in your sculpts, in your work. So try and pay close attention to them. I'm still learning, I'm still going through it, so guys, never feel like it's too much, it's daunting. It's not an easy process. Our job is our tough job. We have a lot of stuff to remember. There's a lot of different working processes, so have patience with yourself and enjoy your process, enjoy the learning, enjoy the working, and by all means try to work as frequently and as often as possible. Come with a good attitude and you'll be able to put in the hours. It's not easy, but nothing in the world is easy. I'm not looking down on any other profession, but particularly this is a tough one. So put in the time, put in the hours. I myself am learning this the hard way. And there we are, adding in a little bit more of extra detailing, adding in our tendons for the toes. And by the way, you can see me going back and forth a little bit, just kind of rethinking and reanalyzing and looking back at my references, and just realizing that the first 4 tendons all come into one and gather up into one single endpoint. So, and it's all towards the outer end of the foot, so bear that in mind and sculpt with that in mind. So that's why I just went through that editing moment and just kind of switched up their direction. And for one, always remember, they're not always super visible. They'll generally be visible if you get like super anorexic, or your foot is flexed. In general, those aren't really that visible on most feet, so it's nothing to stress about, nothing to worry about. But for the purposes of this tutorial, we'll be going through it. We must know these things, learn these things, understand these things. It'll make us better in the long run. And yeah, that's about it. And as you can see, just adding a little bit of fix-up, touch-ups here and there. This is after bullioning everything together, and as you can see, the multi-res is not attached. That's a little clue for you guys of how to fix this whole mesh and add it all together and group it into one place. But as always, I will do you the one extra. I will create another video after this, and in that one you will be able to see how to put your mesh together as one thing. With that being said, guys, GG, God's good. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Peace.